As I've been doing my comp grind this season, I've come to the conclusion that a lot of you probably have as well, and that's that these strategist ults are absolutely insane and out of control. There are too many times that I am hearing
Against the world.
every 2 seconds, it feels like every round of every match. So naturally, I looked into ways that I could counter them, and a lot of the consensus right now is that Magneto is actually one of the best vanguards when it comes to using defensive ults and just having on your team to counter healer ults. So I went and I played with Magneto, and I thought to myself, man, this ult really sucks. And it was just purely because I didn't understand it yet. So of course, I said to myself, self, why do you suck? And so we took it over to the practice range. I grabbed my nearest homie and we checked out what kinds of things that Magneto's ult can kill and absorb. And just as a quick heads up before we get started here, there will be timestamps in the description below right next to the like button. So Magneto's ult is called Meteor M, and it reads that it draws in all materials around to forge an iron meteor that deals massive damage upon impact. Absorbing enemy projectiles can enhance the meteor's power, yet overloading will cause it to self-destruct. So if you go to the Marvel Rivals website and you check out the ability description, it'll tell you that the ability starts at 100 damage and it will cap at 300 damage. So essentially you'll automatically be charging up to 300 damage as the ability duration goes on for the 4 seconds, but as you are taking projectiles and absorbing them, it'll help you get to that 300 damage a lot faster. With each projectile being absorbed, every point that goes in is an additional 3 points of damage. And it's also important to note that this damage will reduce by 50% depending how far the target is from the blast radius. So you want to make sure that you are nailing your targets with high accuracy as often as possible. So for the sake of this video, we're going to refer to the charge line as percentages. And it's important to note that if you reach 100% before the 4 seconds expire, then you will pop the ult. But if you reach the 4 seconds first, the ult will just auto throw at whatever your last aim target was. So first things first, it is very well known that Iron Man's ult will be absorbed by Magneto's meteor, and it can be blocked by his regular shield, even if you were to use it at the last second. However, Iron Man's ult does immediately charge Magneto's meteor all the way up to 75%. So it's highly recommended that you throw the ult as soon as you get that absorbed. So that way you don't risk the possibility of your meteor getting popped by incoming projectiles from the other teammates as well. You can take out Cloak and Dagger when they are in between dashes during their ult, but the window of opportunity is extremely small. I recommend only doing this after they've done maybe 2 dashes max, and you need to give your ult time to charge if you're not getting projectiles directly fired into it to charge it fast enough. Otherwise, you're going to need about a 50 to 75% charge to take out Cloak and Dagger. Now, interestingly enough, when it comes to Namor, his spears do count as projectiles, and so do the projectiles that his octopi shoot out. But when it comes to throwing the ult, the giant whale that he uses, you have to throw your ult beforehand because it will lock you in place if you're caught in the circle. But the whale itself does not count as a projectile and it won't be absorbed by Magneto's ult. But I think his squids do. This may have just been a fluke, but if somebody knows, let me know in the comments down below. So Groot's ult definitely counts as a projectile and it will get absorbed by Magneto's meteor, but it only charges the meteor by 1%. So it definitely is not a huge damage boost. So in this case, it would be better to just save your ult in the first place and use your primary shield in order to block Groot's ult. The acorns that Squirrel Girl shoots will get absorbed into the meteor, but her ult, her Squirrel Stampede, will not because the ult itself counts as a 300 HP character instead of an actual projectile. You can absorb Hela's ult, but you're only going to get about 3 or 4 of her blasts before you run out of time to throw the ult, and if you throw it directly back at her at full charge, it's still not enough damage to take her out of her ult form, and when she comes back down, she's going to have full health anyway, so you might as well just absorb that and throw it at one of the supports or somebody that's weak at the bottom instead of trying to throw it back at Hela. Now, Scarlet Witch's ult can't be absorbed by Magneto's meteor, but it can be blocked by his banner shield as well. Luna's snow can be taken out of her ult as long as you're at least 75% charged. However, you do need to make sure her overshield has been completely chipped away at first, or else you're going to do absolutely no damage to her, even if you're at a 100% charge. And on top of all that, it also needs to be a direct hit. Mantis, however, is a bit more forgiving, and it looks like you can take her out as long as you have a 50% charge, but it still does need to be a direct hit. Now, Loki will not be able to be killed in the middle of his rune state, nor will his rune be absorbed into Magneto's meteor. But if you time your meteor just right, the rune state only lasts 5 seconds and you can take Loki out just as the rune is disappearing. Now here's where things get pretty cool. If you were to go against an opposing Magneto and both of you were to throw your ults, of course you can absorb the other Magneto's ult, but only under certain conditions. What we found out during testing is that you can only absorb the ult if the other Magneto aims the ult directly at you and above a certain threshold. If he throws it at your feet or you throw it at the other Magneto's feet, then the Magneto will take the splash damage from the ult. Also, the ult can be thrown past you while you're in the middle of casting your own ult. So if you are both in the air at the same time and the opposing Magneto was to throw his ult at your feet where your teammates are, that ult will continue to travel until it hits its target and it will still be able to impact your team. Absorbing another Magneto ult will also not give you much of a charge to your own ult. So just like with the Groot ult, you're going to want to try to block it with your banner shield before trying to use your own ult as a defensive maneuver if possible. Now, when Punisher is using his ult, he will overload your meteor so quickly that you won't even get a chance to throw it unless you have an extremely fast reaction speed. I definitely don't recommend using your ult against this, and I can assure you the Punisher will still have plenty of his ult remaining left to do some heavy damage on you and your team. Black Widow's Plasma Burst ult will be absorbed by Magneto's meteor, but if you're using Black Widow in Season 1 of Marvel Rivals, you're just throwing. Now, I was just as surprised by this result as you probably are about to be right now, but when it comes to Peni's mines and her spider mites that are in her nest, none of those count as actual projectiles, so they will not be picked up when Magneto is throwing his meteor, even if she's throwing the mines directly at him while he's casting his meteor. They'll just fly right on by and they won't be absorbed into the ult. Now, Starlord's ult is actually very similar to Punisher's ult to where it'll charge Magneto's meteor very quickly. However, you won't have enough time to absorb enough to overload your meteor, but his ult will definitely outlast your meteor's ult. So you can try to take him out, but he is a very small target and he can be kind of slippery. So it's still best if you would probably redirect the ult down at the other teammates that he has, but you can do it if you wanted. And lastly, for giggles, we went ahead and shot a Moon Knight ult through a Doctor Strange portal to see if the Talons themselves would be absorbed by Magneto's meteor, and unfortunately they weren't. But imagine how cool it would have been if they were. And that's all I have for you for today. I hope you learned something. If you learned something, leave something in the comments down below, or if there's more things that you may have found that I may not have mentioned in this video, definitely let us know in the comments below so we can all learn a little something from each other. And if you like this kind of content, please give a like on the video so I know to make more of it, and also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video whenever I drop them. And if you want to see me live, I'm live every Friday at 8 p.m. EST right here on YouTube, right here on this channel. So I hope to see you there, and otherwise I appreciate your viewership and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.